Very good. Now do it just that way again. Just like that. I like that. Good.
I never did like geography till I saw the face in the deep blue sea. And then I was amazed totally by the face in the deep blue sea. By the face in the deep blue sea. By the face in the deep blue sea.
Hi, my name is Anna. My husband is Lloyd Stewart Carpenter. He is probably best known as the man who discovered the humongous face on the Pacific Ocean floor. Over the years, Lloyd was a guest on more than 1,000 radio and television shows. He and his discoveries have been the subject of newspaper and magazine articles throughout the world. Lloyd also went on several national lecture tours, speaking in dozens of cities about his discoveries. He wrote a book, produced several documentaries, and kept appearing and speaking continually, and then in 2006, he all but stopped. Since then, he has routinely turned down offers or interviews and declined almost all requests to guest on radio or television talk shows. I think he should do more interviews about the face on the Pacific Ocean floor, but there is one thing we do agree on. Somehow, we need to catalog and document the history of his discoveries. And I am in charge of this task. It will be my job to study all our film, video, and audio archives and compile the information in some kind of orderly manner. Our plan is to begin documenting the early years and work to the present, but we will also combine old footage with new information to keep the topics current and fresh. So, our series will focus on the events surrounding Lloyd Stewart Carpenter's discovery of the great face on the Pacific Ocean floor from 1980 to the present. With that being said, welcome to our archive project.
Seeing a face in the clouds or a profile from mountain peaks is small potatoes when you consider the fact that a Pasadena college student has discovered a figure the size of the ocean floor. Mary Wallace explains that.
One look at the planet and you know we're almost all wet by the fact that 77% of her surface is underwater. One look at underwater map researcher Lloyd Carpenter and you might wonder if he's all wet, or you might wonder what he's found from pictures down there.
Bottom of the ocean floors is a series of pictures, 4 basic figures that thematically make up a story, good versus evil.
Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking either this guy's some kind of nut or he's onto something. Well, if he's some kind of nut, he's got company, because not only has his work been endorsed by members of the Jewish and Christian community, but also by the scientific community.
A picture's worth 1,000 words.
It sure is. That's why we figured you might want to take a closer look at the pictures Lloyd traced from topographical maps of the ocean's floor. We'll begin with the Pacific, which covers 66 million square miles.
By making a simple outline of the features that stuck out most, the right face of a handsome man who was intently looking at something that evidently causes him to weep. The Atlantic Ocean, which is only 1/3 of the other half of the world, looks like a rodent-type creature, a beast. the North Atlantic Ocean floor, which depicts a dragon that seems to be attacking the face on the Pacific Ocean floor. And the fourth ocean is the Indian Ocean and the polar seas, and it seems to be two creatures that J.R. Tolkien might draw that appear to be pulling the demon, the devil creature off of the spinal column of the handsome weeping man.
Another look at the planet and Lloyd's underwater pictures, and you might think he's all wet. All we know for sure is that he's not all wet yet.
I'm going to find out what he's looking at. I'm on to it, and I'm going to find out, and I'll let you know when I do.
Mary Wallace, News 4, on the planet Earth above water in Pasadena.
I've had some friends ask me, Lloyd, what is it you hope to accomplish with this film? And I thought about it, and I realized that there are three things I do want to accomplish. The first is to inform. The second is to substantiate that information by bringing in expert witnesses. And third, and maybe most importantly, is establish curiosity. It seems to me like, very possibly, whoever created us, God, is trying to present some kind of message to all of mankind. And he's doing it in such a way that small children, as well as scientists, can observe it. And what better way to do that than to do it through a series of pictures and place these pictures on our ocean's floor? A key question that comes to mind is, what is the face on the Pacific Ocean floor looking at, and what causes that image to weep? My goal with this film is to ask that question.
I never did like geography till I saw the face in the deep blue sea. And then I was amazed totally by the face in the deep blue sea. By the face in the deep blue sea. By the face in the deep blue sea.
When I first discovered the giant face on the Pacific Ocean floor, I went to my university speech team professors and I said, hey, you know, I've discovered this big face on the Pacific Ocean floor. Can I give speeches about it on the university speech team? And my college professor said, well, you know, Lloyd, if there's anyone that's ever going to put you in your place and make sure that you have backup evidence and know what you're talking about, it's going to be the various judges and coaches and professors throughout the university system in the 13 western states. I realized, and I'm deliberately holding this graphic of the Pacific Ocean here for a while so that we can kind of contemplate on how big it is. A lot of people talk about images and anomalies that are out there, but the ones that we're talking about are humongous. They're bigger than you can even imagine almost. The huge face on the Pacific Ocean floor, which is under the water that we're looking at right now, and we'll see it in a moment, is the biggest thing in the entire world. And so when you talk to people about this discovery, you might say to them, what's the biggest thing in the world? And if they don't know, well, you can tell them that the biggest thing in the world is the Pacific Ocean. And the biggest feature on Earth is the huge face on the Pacific Ocean floor. So it's important that we understand that this is first and foremost a scientific discovery. And I'm very glad about that. But what I'm more proud of is that it has spiritual implications. That it has the kind of implications that matter to we in the Christian community. You know, in a way, it's comfortable and pleasing to me to be able to speak to fellow Christians about a discovery that advances the Bible, advances the salvation story, the story of salvation being a series of 5 pictures that cover our entire planet. Because I care most about people's souls and about what is going to happen in the eternal with the people that I meet. And if there can be scientific evidence that will keep those people that are more skeptical, that would not necessarily go to a Bible, that would not necessarily walk into a church, but if they can see the salvation story in a scientific etching on our planet, then they can ask themselves, how were these images made? How did they get here? Then they can say to themselves, wait a minute, you mean this is the same story that's told in the Bible? And then maybe they'll go to that Bible, and then that, as you and I know, is where the real truth lies. And that the heavens do declare the glory of God. But today we're going to find out that the earth does also. The Pacific Ocean floor is big, but when we look at our planet from different angles, we notice that On that last angle we saw nothing but water. All we saw was just the ocean. But here we see now the land mass. And over to the left of the screen, you'll see the edge of the Pacific Ocean against North and South America there. You'll notice that that's just water over there to the left. But as you look at it more, I submit to you that that's just the very front part of the face on the Pacific Ocean floor. And so as a teaser, before we continue on, I will just show you that let's just cut out part of the Earth here and just look at just the Pacific part of that globe. And as we look at just the Pacific part of that globe, you might say to yourself, is there really a face there? Well, we've all seen an image quite similar to this when we see the crescent moon, or when we see what's called a fingernail moon, where we see in old films and in old graphics, sometimes they'll even put a little face in there just so that people will see that. But there's a natural one on the Pacific Ocean floor, and you can see that by just the little tracing that we place on there. And so just keep in mind that that is a very childlike overlay that we've put there, and that this is not even a topographic map. This map is made from satellites in space, so it doesn't pick up the ocean floor and all of its elements like we're going to see. But when we take away those little tracings, we now look at it, and you can kind of see that outline that we're talking about of that face on the Pacific Ocean floor, the mouth, the eye, the tetrach. We're able to see the bottom of the mountain ranges, even though this is not a topographic map, because the features we're talking about are so huge and so large that when I show you the actual topographic map in a moment, you're going to be amazed. And it's going to be the kind of thing that, well, my college professors used to say, I didn't know what Lloyd was talking about, but the first time I saw the Pacific Ocean floor, it took me a minute to see it. But then once I finally saw it, I was never able to look at a topographic map again without seeing that face. The book that I wrote is called The Amazing Mystery of the Great Face on the Pacific Ocean Floor. A sermon in stone, can secrets revealed through the Earth's topography linked to the biblical apocalypse and the end of the world. What a mouthful. Some people have accused me of having too wordy of title. The Amazing Mystery of the Great Face on the Pacific Ocean Floor is really only pinpointing one of the 5 great features we're going to be talking about, but it is half of our planet. It is the first discovery that I made, and I think it is actually the most important of them all, because we're going to find out today how this particular image applies to Bible prophecy in a way that we never even thought possible. If it hadn't have been for some of the fine scholars and people that I've been able to talk to over the years, I would never have known how these features on our planet could completely relate to the Scriptures. We deliberately show here on the cover of the book a cartoon-like tracing. And we make it as simplistic as possible just so you can see the reference points of the actual map that is behind it, and you can see North America there in the United States. The amazing mystery of the great face on the Pacific Ocean floor. That sermon in stone, secrets in the earth topography that link to the biblical apocalypse and the end of the world. When I went to some of the early publishers that were interested in publishing this book, they liked almost everything about it, but one of the most common complaints was, I don't want you to put end of the world on the cover. And I said, well, wait a minute, just a second. This entire discovery links to Bible prophecy. We show that it is, in effect, part of a great promise made by our Lord, made by God from the very beginning. As a matter of fact, from the very first verse in the Bible. And they said, yeah, but it's alarmist. People are going to think that you're being alarmist. And I said, well, I am being an alarmist, but in a nice way. You know, I'm just letting people know about it.
I never did like geography till I saw the face in the deep blue sea. And then I was amazed totally by the face in the deep blue sea. By the face in the deep blue sea. By the face in the deep blue sea.